On this episode of Business is Personal, I'm sitting down with Filippo Sana. He is a global powerhouse in the hospitality industry. You will recognize him, don't worry. But we're going to be talking about how the post-COVID new normal in hospitality probably actually should have been the old normal. And we're going to talk about talent retention and corporate culture and why having organizational policies and procedures might not be such a good idea. Oh, also, before you watch the episode, make sure to connect with me on LinkedIn, Dr. Corey Block. Do you feel disconnected at work? Are you feeling exhausted? Almost like you hate your job and secretly, maybe your boss too? This is Business is Personal, a blueprint to discovering and creating meaning at work in collaboration with Smashy TV, a live streaming service in the Middle East for the driven, the dreamers, and the doers. So I'm really glad to have Filippo Sana with me. He is one of the, let's say, global icons in the hotel and hospitality industry. You've worked in 28 countries, if I'm not wrong. You've worked with CBME as a high leader, Colliers International. What else have you been?
Dries and Sommer.
Dries and Sommer, yes. Yeah,
German
amazing.
company.
Yeah, incredible. So you've got a long history of the hospitality industry. And then you went into Wood Couture, where you're the co-founder, and that's where you are now, right? So I'm so excited about this conversation because hospitality is a massive part of our business in Dubai and in the UAE in general, and really looking forward to the conversation. Is there anything you want the audience to know about you before we start?
No, absolutely. I think you said them all. I spent exactly from 13th of August 93 deep diving into the hospitality business. So you make the maths, it's 30 years.
So what did you, so 30 years in hospitality, what have you learned?
Things changes every day. People changes every year. And you cannot look at things of any aspect, any facet of the hospitality with a short-term view.
Yeah,
you need to look with a long-term view, and you have to have a clear vision and clear strategy behind. Sure. From the bus guy that pick up glasses and clean tables, to the GM of a hotel, to the CEO of a company, they need to have a clear vision of what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
because things changes every day. See what happened with COVID.
Right.
How many people would have predicted that eventually we'll come to a standstill? No one.
Right.
So my question is, how many of those people had a contingency plan? How many had guidelines, hey, if one day we come to a standstill from any form of shape or type of events or force majeure, what are we gonna do?
That's true. It's interesting you say that because we have, at the bottom of all of our contracts, we have force majeure, right?
Yeah.
And yet we don't actually plan as though it's possible.
Of course, we try to be optimistic.
It's all there, and yet we don't really think of it as a real thing. So it's not part of our risk assessment, not part of our contingency plan. I don't know. I think COVID, for me, it was a bit like planning for something apocalyptic. I've never seen the world shut down like that before, right? And especially the hospitality industry was absolutely gutted. Just all the air is gone, all at once, from the entire industry.
Of course.
All around the world. That's pretty amazing. The hospitality industry and I think the airline industry suffered the most. So what are the lessons that you've learned about contingency planning from having been in the hospitality industry during its worst event?
Whatever you do, plan B and C has to be there. Whether it is in a drawer, in a safe, or in your mind, but make sure that you have plan B and C.
Right.
Never be only on one direction. Being focused, very important, but being agile is even more important.
Right.
So the point is that your plan B and C is always there. But I think the biggest lessons, but the biggest controversy that came out of COVID is that, and during COVID, I haven't participated at any conferences, any online webinar, any panel discussions, any contributing to nothing of how to prepare for the new normal, which is a bunch of nonsense. And I'll tell you why, because when I read or listen to people that say, oh, do you know what? We have to clean table twice, we have to do that. My answer would be, my man, you should have done it anyway, even before COVID.
Right.
Because I don't want to go and eat in a place and pick up the crumbs or the crap of somebody else.
Right.
So the hygienic protocol that you're putting in place now should have been there years ago.
How interesting.
So it's got nothing to do with COVID. It's got to do with good hygiene.
Right. So it's not the new normal. It's the normal that should have been.
Should have always been there. Should always been there.
Yeah, especially in the hospitality industry. This is us talking about the normal that we should have had. We should have been putting sanitizer on tables. We should have been wiping them down twice. We should have been replacing all of the cloth. We should have. Yeah, I can't disagree with you. I think
very simple. So I have nothing to contribute. Because, I thought that was the basic of hospitality. It's called service industry.
Yeah, sure.
So, what we're gonna do when you reopen? Again, this is where your thinking is there, where your plan B and C is there.
Yeah, sure.
So you as a CEO of a sales company, or let's try to and try to retain the talent, trying to, operate it back, make more money. Sure. Now, a lot of topics, with COVID, we have lost a lot of the workforce. Why? Because they are going to work into the retail sector, in the supermarket business. Why? Because they realized that during COVID, nobody stopped eating. A lot of delivery guys were operating. Supermarket, they could do home delivery. So it's a secure job. And guess what? They pay better than hospitality.
Right.
So topics that we've been speaking since 30 years.
Yeah.
Guess what? You needed COVID with a wake-up call. If I was the shareholders of a hotel company, I would start firing the top guys, not the frontline guys.
Yeah,
and say, do you know what?
You.
You had the chance to do it. You didn't do it.
Yeah, I agree.
This is my lessons that I've always learned. And this shows that, unfortunately, despite I love the hospitality industry, but the people that have been operating and they've been complacent to, as long as we make people happy, customer, it's a business, If you put $100 million building a 5-star hotel, you need to know the inside out of my business. Yeah. And when I was a consultant, the most interesting fact, it was that you will go and approach a food and beverage manager and his people, interview them, try to understand and gauge understanding the business. Say, hey, do you know what you break even in this restaurant? They look at you like, what language are you speaking?
Yeah, they don't speak the finance language. I know.
No business language.
That's true.
At all.
I get it.
And it is the most rewarding.
Yeah.
It's the most rewarding industry of all. Guess what? 100-bedroom hotel, a 50% occupancy, welcome 18,000 people a year.
Wow.
Imagine if for all these 18,000, I know, obviously I know the basic, I know your name, your passport details. Guess what? Superior customer services, I know your sizes. Why? Let me bring you a wardrobe. Let me bring you a sleeper. I know your shoe size. I know what you like to eat. Maybe you're bold, you don't want the shampoo because you don't use shampoo, right? So they had the chance to have more data and more artificial intelligence than Facebook, and they've never done it.
Yeah, it's a huge data building industry.
Massive.
I know one company who builds intelligent thermostats. And I did some of their strategy and sales restructuring a couple of years ago. And they have this technology where you can walk in. When you walk into the hotel, because you have the app on, the hotel knows that you're there. And then once your room is assigned, it will adjust your room to the temperature that you like. And I think that's not the future, that's the now. Okay, so yes, I don't want to say that's the future because it's present. It's just not ubiquitous yet. It's not rolled out across everyone. I think you're right that COVID has dragged us to a level of hygiene expectation that we probably should have had before. I think you're also right that COVID has exposed us to the challenges of talent retention in a way that we've never experienced before, especially in airline and hospitality. And like you said, there's hospitality people going to retail. I know airline pilots that were making more money driving Amazon delivery trucks during COVID than they made as pilots before. And so that's the reality, is we're living in a world where Amazon delivery truck drivers can make more money than an airline pilot. And retail sales can compete with hospitality, but hospitality is an art. It's a little bit different than just retail sales. You have to be personable. You have to remember people's names and faces. You have to, and you can't really have an off day in hospitality. Am I right?
Of course.
Because the customer is always new.
This is science.
Yeah.
A receptionist sees more patient than a psychologist or psychiatrist. spa therapists probably perform therapies or massages more than a chiropractic. So the point I'm making is that it's science, because if the therapist has a bad day, her tension go through her hands. So you're feeling it and you're going to do a complaint. And if the receptionist has a bad day or the bad stomach ache, then you're not going to have a warm welcome. And guess what? You're going to complain because you're not going to be happy.
That's right.
So I always say to people, this is not just a job. It has to be a career.
I agree. I totally
If you don't
agree.
like it, go do something else.
I agree. For myself, I'm in customer service, sort of. As a coach and as a restructuring specialist, I work with a lot of different companies. And I'm also not allowed to have a bad day because I'm always providing services for somebody.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's tiring. You have to be able to choose your behavior in spite of how you feel. And that receptionist that you're saying, the receptionist, I love what you said, by the way. I want to capture that. The receptionist is a better therapist than a counselor.
Sees more patients than a psychiatrist.
Sees more patients than a psychiatrist and has to deal with more different kinds of issues.
Yeah.
And dealing with frustrations that aren't theirs to begin with, but they're taking those frustrations on and trying to solve them. I think that's really telling of the industry and what's required mentally in order to remain effective in hospitality over the long term.
A lot of people, you see, Corey, is few years ago, before COVID, everybody was talking about automation and technology in hospitality. And there were some gurus that were suggesting that we need to have self-check-ins, robotic check-in. And I said, if you start putting that in a hotel, I think the biggest the sale of an item is going to increase rapidly, and there will be the hammer. Why? Because imagine you have a tough flight, you're coming in, you go to check in, and the robot, sorry, wrong information. Next time you're going to check in, you're going to bring a hammer with you. You're going to smash it. Why? Because a robot can never develop judgment and empathy.
Right.
So, and this is human qualities.
That's right.
This is superior services. You have 5 seconds to understand who is walking in front of you, and then is your ability to make them feel good.
Yes, that's right.
Self-check-in with robots can never get there.
Right. Well, they've done that a lot in airline, right? So if we use airline as a mirror, in airline industries, they've transferred a lot to self-check-in. But what that does is it delays the frustration and it amplifies the frustration. So when a passenger who's already stressed, right, there's already anxiety, and then they get there and they can't check in, and there's already the anxiety over the trip and everything, then the airline has already missed an opportunity to meet that customer where they already are. It's like when an anxious person approaches reception in a hotel, if they have to get through a robot to get to reception, then that just amplifies their frustration, amplifies the anxiety, and amplifies the chances of that organization losing not just a customer, but 7 other potential customers as a result of the rumors that spread.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's right. I think self-check-in and hotels probably won't make sense because robots are like 30 years old and our hospitality mind is like 1 million years old, right? We're a 1 million-year-old animal, and we want to be greeted by somebody that has eyes and smiles and shakes our hand and tells us it's going to be okay.
Yeah, robots don't have intuition.
That's right.
It's, they're programmed in a very rational and pragmatic way. Intuition and empathy, human quality, they come from experience.
Sure, yeah.
So, or the sixth sense, that's why I believe women are much better placed than men in a job place, because they've got the sixth sense, whether we like it or not. We don't have it. I'm okay with a cup of coffee, let them have the sixth sense.
Well, there's some science behind that, hey? Did you know that? Women have, I'll delve into the science for you. Women have more connections between the left and right hemispheres of their brains than men do. Did you know that?
Look, no, I didn't know. I'm not pretending to be a scientist. I did not know. The only thing I know is that 72% of the employees of my company is female.
No, I get that.
So and then touch wood, we done well probably because of that.
Is that all the way up to the top level leadership as well?
From top to bottom.
That's brilliant.
is 72% constant.
Yeah,
and,
that's brilliant.
And our benchmark is above 70%.
Yeah, that's great.
And there is no science behind the 70%. It we have a very sweet majority of female colleagues.
Yeah.
Because for us, we see the performance, we see the kind of level of output that we're able to generate, and I put my commitment behind us. I support the gender equality and and also diversity.
No, I agree with you, and it's profitable too. McKinsey did a report a couple of years ago. They found that companies that invest in just improving the gender balance by 10% benefited 7% on the bottom line the following year. And that's pretty consistent,
100%.
which is it's cash in the bank. Honestly, I think it's because men and women think differently. We do. We think differently about the same things, and I think that's an asset. We should be talking to each other, and we should be working together as much as we can.
Yeah.
You also know that women produce more oxytocin in their brains than men do, and they have more oxytocin receptors in their brains than men have. So they're better producers and consumers of oxytocin, and oxytocin is the neurochemical of trust. Right? It's the only way that any human has ever experienced trust, belonging, care, all of those things. That's oxytocin. And so having women on the frontline staff and in the leadership, I think, is an amazing, not just an asset, it's a strategic advantage.
100%. I can never disagree with that. I'm not so knowledgeable like you about the science behind it, but I can tell you, the fact is that we've been able to perform consistently since '99. Because the fact that, we had the majority of our staff, from management all the way to factory employees, are female.
That's incredible.
Whether it's by default or whether it's by pure natural commitment, is consistent results.
That's amazing. I absolutely love that. Tell me what you're most proud of at Wood Couture and what you're doing now.
I think Wood Couture is that from top to bottom, is again, I'm not the sole owner, I'm part of it. Paolo Della Casa is my business partner, so is the Della Casa family also part of it, and equally together into the business. From top to bottom, we are all committed. I'll give you an example. We don't have HR manuals or HR policies because our main rules is what makes common sense.
Right, sure.
So, from our responsibility and accountability to make sure that whoever works with us, not for us, with us, is that we need to look after them.
Yeah, that's good.
The more we look after them, the better it is for us, because it's my return on investment.
That's right.
And that investment may disappear because they want to pursue different careers in different company. It does not matter. But that person, by positively talking about their experiences at Wood Couture, bring us in a different level.
I agree.
So to be different. So I think we embrace that. So from top to bottom, we are committed to common sense in our company. And we work very hard. So there is a very strict discipline. One thing that we are very proud of, it sounds very basic, but I'm afraid nowadays in business, I don't find that. When we shake hands, it's far more greater than a piece of paper and from a law firm. We have principles in life. And the principle we have in our personal life is in the business.
For me, it's the same. I'm a traditional guy. I'm an honor and handshake guy. So a lot of the deals that I have, I don't even bother with the contract. I'll say, look, I keep the contract on your side. If you ever if I'm not delivering for you, just don't pay me. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm willing to stand behind my name, my reputation, my profile, and you do exactly the same thing. And I think the stronger of a name and profile you have, the less you need that paper to back yourself up.
But there is a lot of people that don't practice they never been into environments. There is a real discipline. And when I was a young teenager, I had to go to do my compulsory military service for my country, for Italy. Then the first job in hospitality, I went into the kitchen. That is the same spirit. When you work in a kitchen, it's the same working in the army. It's for the goodness of the team. It's a team effort. If you let yourself down, you let everybody down.
That's right.
Everybody get killed.
Yes,
Everybody's behind the service. So if you learn these basic principles,
Yeah.
you will go far away. And personally, I always say to people, you don't need to read very complex business books or do an MBA. Although I did one at my time because it was trendy to do. I've learned a lot. I enjoy more meeting people and learning their stories than what I was reading on the books.
Agreed.
But there are some basic rules of doing business, but the very first rule is integrity. Your word is your word. You are a business owner.
100%.
You are accountable.
Yeah,
so you have the benefit, and you take all the nasty things that might come.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
But ethics for me is very important in business.
Agreed.
If somebody introduced me business, I naturally reward you.
Yeah.
Because hey, why not?
That's the right thing.
So I don't need to give you under the table. I do it naturally because it's part of business.
Yeah,
Not even my dog move the tails if I don't give her sweet.
Right.
So sorry, why does somebody come for me, give me business and say, hey, let me watch you being successful. Let me stand by the seat there.
I'll just clap for you.
Yeah, clap for you. No, come on, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Everything can be ethically done.
Agreed.
Shaking hands and don't need a piece of paper.
No, I'm totally with you. Look, one of the things that fascinates me is how people find meaning at work and the things that they find meaning in. So with you at Wood Couture, what gives your work the most amount of meaning to you personally?
Seeing people happy.
Like employees, customers, anybody.
The entire ecosystem.
Brilliant.
And whether it's our branding agency, to our customer, to our employee, to our raw material supplier, and they say, you know what, those guys are fun to work with, and they pay on time, or they did exactly what they promised, or I get what I need. Yeah, we are tough guys. Hey, we know always yes, man. We have learned the art of saying no. But for the right reasons. But for me, that's all. Seeing people happy is what makes me wake up in the morning.
That's brilliant. And I love what you said, tough but fun.
Always.
We're tough, but we want to have fun, and we're looking for really great people to play with. I love it.
Otherwise, it's boring. I always say to people, why did you marry your wife? Because you like it, she's pretty, but also, it's fun to be with because you have to spend the rest of your life.
That's right.
According to the books.
Yes.
So imagine if it's not fun, you will leave tomorrow morning.
That's right.
So the same is in business. It's exactly the same philosophy.
I totally agree. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for this conversation.
Anytime.
It's been really, really fun. Thank you. I appreciate it, Filippo.
Thank you.
Do you feel disconnected at work? Are you feeling exhausted? Almost like you hate your job and secretly maybe your boss too? This is Business is Personal, a blueprint to discovering and creating meaning at work in collaboration with Smashy TV, a live streaming service in the Middle East for the driven, the dreamers, and the doers.